Thank you so much for having me here. I'm incredibly excited to be here, even though it's really early in the morning. But I'll try to wake you all up with some really interesting data and visualizations. All right, so I'm Gilad Lotan. I'm the VP of Research and Development at SocialFlow. It's a BetaWorks company. And I'm here to talk to you about audiences and my work around understanding invisible audiences, specifically looking at information flows. So I'm really interested in analyzing how information flows through social networks, and I build tools that sort of make sense of the data aspect and find ways to visually display all the dynamics that are at play. Now, I don't have to tell you guys the importance of all the data that we're all producing on these, within these network spaces, right? They're very compelling spaces where, like within social networks, actually social interactions between people are almost like the glue. They lubricate the speed of information and helps spread it much faster, right? We're all like posting, reposting, liking content, and passing it onwards, right? So what does it mean to actually mine all this publicly available data and try to make sense of it? And in a world where it's so easy to publish, right? It's almost effortless to post information online. Attention has become the bottleneck, right? So we're trying to understand how to engage our audiences by trying to understand where they put their attention to, right? How we can grab their attention. And one cannot expect to get people's attention anymore. We can't expect to get it at a certain time of day, right? We have to understand our audience's behavior along the day and what their preferences are and where they tend to place their attention to. So the ability to attract attention is power. And I'd say that in this 140-character economy, actually the act of understanding where people place their attention is extremely powerful. So that's where my interest in information flows comes from. And I think by understanding how information flows and what people put their attention to, we can get to some of these dynamics and we can better engage with our audiences. Right? In order for messages to pass through the network, they have to go through people, and they have to grab their attention. So what are the things that we can learn about the ways that people are engaging that help us understand how this happens? Now that is obviously, that's the million-dollar question, right? How do you get a message to propagate and reach like millions and millions of people? Because the majority of messages only reach a handful. So I'm not going to promise millions of dollars, but I can give you some insight and clues. This is a recent visualization that we published at SocialFlow, and it tracks the events prior to the White House announcement on the Bin Laden operation. Now, the media the morning after was focused on the big story was that Twitter broke the news, right? People on Twitter figured it out before the official White House announcement. So we went back to the data and actually tried to make sense of it and see what happened there and how did that happen. What you see, I mean, it's really interesting. From the moment that people knew that there was going to be an announcement, there were all these rumors starting to spread on Twitter. So you see the red line signifies the people talking about Gaddafi, and the blue line signifies Osama. There were lots of people speculating, saying, it has to be something big, it's Sunday night, why can't it wait? Some were saying, yeah, it must be Gaddafi, something happened with his son a few days ago, and others were saying, no, it has to be bigger, I think we have Bin Laden. And there was a specific point where the conversation really took off, and there were many, many more people talking about Bin Laden, much more than Gaddafi. So what happened? How did that happen? It's actually, we tracked down a single tweet published by Keith Urban, who is Rumsfeld's chief of staff. He wrote, so I'm told by a reputable person, they've killed Osama bin Laden, hot damn. Right? I'm sure he would have wanted to take that hot damn off, because within a minute, the tweet generated 80 retweets, and within 2, it was hundreds and hundreds, and it reached New York Times author and a bunch of like prominent Twitter users. So how did this happen? Like, his profile didn't reflect any propensity to spread information. He had maybe 800 followers, like probably very low clout score. But like, what made his network sort of gain his trust and jump on that piece of information? And I mean, there's a lot to be said about the network that you're connected to. So like Jeff was mentioning before, it's not really about the size of the network that's connected to you. It's a lot to do with the dynamics and the types of people you're connected to and the trust that they're willing to give you. But it's also the right piece of information at the right time, right? So all these dynamics put together made this one little tidbit of information spread like wildfire, even though it was not the first. Keith was not the first to speculate that the message, the White House announcement, had to do with bin Laden. So here you see just the illustration. You see Keith Urbain, the bottom right. He started the flow, and you see Brian Stelter of the New York Times. He was one of the people who sort of has a big audience and got a lot of people to retweet, and you see all the cascades of how the information flows, all the important nodes, and all the ones retweeting and mentioning it. Let's go to another example. This happened last week. So Urban Outfitters versus the New York City crafters scene. And it's an example of a really interesting information flow. It's also one that spread extremely fast from a node that couldn't be predicted otherwise. So what happened? Urban Outfitters ripped off a design from just a designer, and it was the I Heart NYC necklace, right? And you can see they look exactly the same. I think they even kept the name. So this pissed off the designer, obviously, put up a blog post, and the following tweet was posted by a friend, Amber Kearns. I think it's time to boycott Urban Outfitters. They have done this to so many independent artists. Not okay. Here's the link to the blog post. Now, little did she think and expect that this tweet would be picked up by thousands and thousands and thousands of people, generate 30,000 clicks within a day, right, and reach all these mainstream media outlets. So again, how did this happen? She trended, here's a map, a trends map showing how she was trending, her name, her handle was trending all across the United States, right, and in different cities around the world. So again, profile that doesn't have a big following, is not that sort of well connected to all these influencers that we would think of, but generates this massive information flow. And I highly recommend reading her blog post about the experience. And she says it really clearly. I'm not a Twitter celebrity by any means. I barely had over 1,000 followers when the day began. What I do have is a tribe, right? A tight-knit group of independent artists and crafters that follow me, right? It's this tribe, it's this dense network that really helped get her message up and running, right? It's all these close people who really believed in this cause. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be enough at the right time. I'll take you through a third example really quickly. This is the spread of a hashtag across the network. Cheering for the Yankees is like. Right? So we see the spread. It was started by a colleague of mine. Again, doesn't have a big following. Somehow spread pretty far, got to some reporters, and everyone was sort of playing jokes, Yankees versus Red Sox. Right? So this is one way to view the data. You see the network spread. There's quite a dense spot at the top left, but you can't really understand much about the dynamics. Right? If we look at the same data set differently, we start seeing we actually can identify this really interesting spot. Did you see that? There was like one moment where the hashtag almost tipped, right? Like this tipping point where so many more people all of a sudden start getting engaged. So what was that moment, right? Who is that person? It turns out that was Jake Tapper, a pretty well-known television anchor. And this is another way to view the data. This central node in the middle, that's Jake Tapper, right? And you see sort of all the people he gets to repost his content. But what this visualization also shows us is this node here, Lizzie O'Reilly. And what we what we actually learned from looking at the data this way is the information actually flowed through her. She was sort of the gateway. And without that node, without Lizzie or really, there's no way that the message would have gotten to sort of the big fish, right? So there's some connection, some tie there, some relationship. So we see this constantly over and over again, right? There's the right topic with the right network at the right time can generate this massive information flow. And a lot of the times, the people who start it, they don't realize that they have the potential to do that. And I'm almost done. I will actually get to just the final slide, where I really hope you come out of this talk by understanding that it's kind of messy. There are all these dynamics at play, right? And by learning from all these digital breadcrumbs that the users, all the people who follow us, all our audience posts, we can understand a lot about the dynamics of our audience and engage with them better. I'm from Social Flow. Check us out or talk to our people in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you.